Good evening, everyone. We are going to reconvene open session and ask all that are willing and able to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and next on our agenda are our employee and student recognitions. Okay, and our first award tonight is for Elaine Watson. And Elaine was chosen for being an extraordinary teacher who is a role model. She is dedicated and passionate, not just about math, but also about how our students learn and how they fail, so she can assist them to be better students and all around good people. Elaine takes time to meet with students during her planning time and lunch to make sure her students are understanding the concepts, not just taking retakes to get better grades, but to promote a growth mindset. The parent who nominated Elaine wrote, "She helped our boys be advocates for themselves, something that they have been working on for years. She is the first teacher they have felt truly comfortable with. For this, I am so thankful because my sons are finally taking steps on their own accord to meet with her and seek assistance in concepts they don't understand." The parent went on to say, "She has faith in my sons and won't let them fail without trying and learning from their mistakes. More importantly, in my opinion, is my boys who tell me that Miss Watson is their favorite teacher. That says a whole lot coming from 15-year-olds. Amen to that. And I'll just add, prior to these awards being given out, the buzz from friends of my daughters when they were here, this name came up. So the first time I met her, I already knew that she was a rock star from the student's perspective. So congratulations. Thank you. Okay. And our next award is for Kirti Acharya. Acharya.
That's all right.
Sorry. No, I got Kirti Acharya. And the parent who nominated Kirti describes her as a remarkable person with whom to interact. She went on to say, "I am required to call the attendance office far more frequently than I would like, and most often my call is answered by the most delightful, friendly, and supportive voice of Kirti. Despite her long tenure with the district, she is fresh and excited with each new day. Perhaps more remarkable, despite working with teens all day, she appears to maintain respect and genuine affection for them and their parents, who may not always present as particularly affectionate." The parent concluded her nomination by saying that Kirti is an asset to our school, our community, and my world. And I will second this again.
Thank you
This
so
woman
much.
always makes you feel better. So
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank the parent who nominated me and also the administration for giving me the honor of getting this award from Oak Park River Forest High School. Our association with high school started in 1996, 94 actually, when our son Vikram Acharya, he graduated in 98, and we have two boys. Second one is Raj Acharya, who graduated in 2000. And when they were here, I continued my trail of volunteering from elementary school, middle school of Roosevelt, and then continued in high school. And as a volunteer, I spent quite a few hours in this school. I like this school, honestly. And our kids did pretty good in this school. They were excellent students, and the credit goes to the school as well as the administration and the teachers. We have excellent teachers in this school. So I continued volunteering till 2000, when our younger son graduated from high school and continued on. So I said, okay, now it's time for me to quit. I had two thoughts about quitting the school. But one who was in charge of supervisor, her name was Rosemary Pisoli, she approached me and said, would you like to come as an employee and join this school? I said, let me give it a thought and see if I can do this. No, we would like you to come. So believe it or not, she knocked at our door one day and with a contract in her hand. And my husband and I were surprised. What? Those days was easy, I think. So she knocked and said, we would really like you to come and join us. Try it as a part-time employee first. If you don't like it, it's okay, just try. So for last 18 years, I was a part-time employee. For this year, this is my first year as a full-time employee. And Miss Bishop said, I want you to come as a full-time. So this is a story long made short. And thank you for your time, for listening to my introduction to this school. And I'm very proud to get this honor from the high school, which I love it. And some people I think here knows me for years because her daughter and my son went to school together over here. And we have been in this neighborhood for quite some time. My husband is a physician, and it's like a race, whether he retires first or I'm going to retire first. Let's keep the race on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. And our volunteer award is for Annette Yoko. Annette has been the uniform lead for marching band for the last 3 years after serving 4 other years on the uniform team. Band teacher Anthony Spada notes, one of the best parts of my job is having the best parents who donate their time over and over. Annette Yoko is one of the best. She has worked hours and hours on uniforms for our organization, mending, remending, washing, hanging, storing, ordering, and taking care of them for the past few years. Whenever we had a change, she was on it. She has helped make our group look like the classy organization that it is. Annette also runs the Applause Flower Sale, and her name appears on every sign-up where help is needed. She does all of this volunteer work with calm, positivity, wisdom, and deep caring for the students. She is amazing.
That's her husband's last name.
And my daughter's last name.
And her daughter.
It's okay. I go boy.
That's okay.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Oh.
Okay, and we are at our introductory reports.
Okay, Ms. Camerton, are there any FOIA requests?
Yes, we had one and it was resolved.
Thank you. Our student council rep is not here this evening. Student council hasn't met yet for the second semester, so she'll be here next month. Under Superintendent Announcements, I have quite a few. For the second consecutive year, 4 seniors, which is the highest number in OPR history, have been named 2020 Posse Foundation Scholars and will receive full tuition for scholarships to several elite colleges and universities. Monica Bradford will attend Denison University. Aaron Brown will attend Cornell University. Marisha Kariokos will attend Oberlin College, and Justin Sigawa will attend the University of Michigan. Both of our Special Olympic basketball teams took first place in their division at the district tournament. The Huskies head to Illinois State University on March 13th. OPRF Auditorium Manager and Theater Teacher Teslin Sadowski was chosen as the Technical Director for the recent Illinois High School Theater Festival All-State production at the Illinois State University. In addition, students Max L. Podell, Jules Marshall, Elisa Altman, Jackson Smith, Lillian Herman, and Lauren Hyman also were selected to participate in the production that was performed before more than 5,000 theater students from across the country. Our boys swim team ranked #1 in the state after breaking the pool records in all 3 of their relays at Riverside Brookfield High School. The OPRF robotics team won first place overall award at a recent competition at Glenbrook South, and our math team hosted the North Suburban Math League math competition here in December. And last but not least, our annual holiday food and gift basket and Adopt a Family program was able to assist 101 families. Thanks to Latanya Jackson, Melody Brown, students Mackenzie Jameson, Mia Patterson, Kate Anderson, and Nick Funk for helping with delivering of the gifts. And one more announcement, on the 28th, we'll have a wrestling tournament here, of which our girl wrestlers will compete.
Yes. Okay, and I will add a special shout out, congratulatory announcement to our very own Dr. Joylyn Pruitt-Adams. In her, this is our first official board meeting to put this on the record. Congratulating her on being named Villager of the Year for Oak Park and River Forest. So there is a letter that was sent out that, on behalf of the board, and I just wanted to read a brief portion that says, testament to Dr. Pruitt-Adams' commitment to our district has been evident since she arrived. She not only wanted to work in our district, but also desired to be a community member. Many of you have bumped into her at the grocery store, seen her at community events, or out walking her dog. Since coming to the district, Dr. Pruitt-Adams has shown unflagging leadership. In less than 4 years, she has revitalized the district's strategic plan, overseen the process leading to the most significant campus renovation in 50 years, championed restructuring the freshman curriculum, reorganized her administrative team to be more equity-focused, and helped create racial and gender equity policies. I'm grateful for her presence in our community and her leadership of our district. And on behalf of the Board of Education, thank you for and heartfelt congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, and now we are at public comments.
Yes, and we have Cara Carmody.
Could you say your last name one more time?
Sure, and it's Kara, and it's Carmody. And then, do I?
Yes, here.
Good evening, board members. I first want to thank you for your dedication to our children and community. I am here tonight to address the current cell phone policy at OPRF River Forest High School and to show support for all the efforts of the cell phone policy committee. I have a 5th grade daughter at Lincoln Elementary School, a 7th grade daughter at Gwendolyn Brooks Middle School, and a son who's a freshman at OPRF. And Dr. Acharya delivered all 3 of my children, so I'm so happy to be his wife because she's just as lovely. I can't tell you how surreal it has been this school year having my son attend this high school. I went to St. Luke's School and started OPRF High School in 1990. It was here that I met my husband and many lifelong friends. This is why OPRF will always hold a special place in my heart and why I'm dedicated to making it the best place it can be. As a mother and elementary education teacher, I can promise you that I know it truly takes a village to raise a child in this day and age. I am asking for your help in making OPRF the best high school and learning environment, not just for my children, but for all children, especially the most needy and vulnerable. And as I can see, those are the freshmen. They are entering OPRF with having to adapt to a large, unknown school with new people, teachers, rules, and expectations. It seems unfair to ask those needy, vulnerable students to come from an environment where cell phones are a way for the school day to one where they are allowed throughout the school day, not just in common areas, but in classrooms too. Both District 90 and 97 have adopted cell phone policies this school year that are a way for the entire school day. This sends a mixed message to students who, because of their age, are already at a disadvantage to understanding differing norms and unclear expectations. Therefore, it is highly important that we look at our current cell phone policy and try to change it for the coming school year, so the incoming freshmen can adhere to the same rules and expectations on cell phones as they did in their middle schools. There is significant research on the negative effects of cell phones on the teenage brain, and the results are staggering. Research as recent as this week show what cell phones do to students' brains, mental health, and academic performance. And this research comes from such places as Psychology Today and the American Academy of Pediatrics. I know the Cell Phone Policy Committee has collected numerous amounts of research of their own and data from our own current student population. In their findings, they reported students at OPRF admitting anonymously to using their cell phones mostly at lunch, advisory, and passing periods. During those times, 647 students admitted to recording fights during the school day on their phones. Over 500 admitted to sending completed assignments to other students during the school day, and over 400 admitted to recording other students and teachers without their permission while in the classroom in school. The research and data goes on and on. It is clear cell phones have no place in schools. Not only are they distracting, they are harmful. We have the chance to do something great, to take a stand on cell phones and help our students, especially our most vulnerable, receive the best education possible. This may seem impossible, but Rome wasn't built in a day, and barriers and rules will have to be broken down in order to be built up again. I know the Cell Phone Policy Committee, along with many parents and educators, can come together to create a policy that takes cell phones out of the classroom and out of the school day. Now is the time, and we need you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ivy Lynch?
Hello, board members and community members. I am Eileen Lynch. I am the mother of a recent graduate, and I am a sophomore and a freshman here at OPRF, and a youngster in elementary school. I would support everything that Kara just said, and just speak that as a mother, with what living with a cell phone has meant in terms of distractibility of my children, ability to control and focus them on the tasks at hand, and their self-esteem. I would support any restrictions that you would deem more restrictive than the current policy, and any restrictions to really focus children in on the task at hand here at school. And I really want to speak, I see it from a parental viewpoint, but I really want cell phones to be restricted on behalf of all the teachers here at the school. I think it's an unnecessary task on their plates to try to rein in cell phone use when they are our primary educators, of course, and they have a job to do. So they shouldn't be spending their time in the classroom dealing with cell phones the way we have to deal with them when we don't want them around at home. So thank you for all that you do every day, but please be more restrictive than the current policy. The committee is coming up with some recommendations, and I'm thrilled. I don't have a middle schooler right now, but I'm thrilled to hear that the middle schools have moved to a phone-away policy. I would support that here as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
It's Rebecca Barbado. Good evening.
Good evening.
I am a pediatrician at North Riverside, and so I feel like as the mother of 3 teenage girls and a pediatrician, I have pretty powerful feelings about cell phones, and I spend most of my day talking about it in my job and talking to people about how to regulate it, and then I spend time doing it in my own home. I spend a lot of time looking at the American Academy of Pediatrics research, as Kara mentioned, and what their recommendations are. And all of that data shows that being more and more restrictive in screen time and cell phones for kids is completely valuable. I also have a freshman who's now participating in the pilot project of putting her phone away for the day, which I was astounded that she was willing to do. And it's been amazing. So she has had absolutely no complaints about not having her phone for the day. And all I could think about as I was talking to her yesterday was that she's learning to exercise muscles that she didn't even know that she had, right? So instead of using the muscles to look at her phone all day, she's having to think of other things to do. She's having to look at people in the eye and talk to them when she goes past them. She can't just immediately go to her phone, right? So if we can think about this as helping them exercise muscles to get stronger, I think that would be a really valuable thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone that did not sign up for public comment that would like to do so? Okay, thank you all, and I will turn it over to Dr. Kodak. Oh, wait a second. It's still me. Okay, we are at our consent agenda. Are there any items that a board member would like to pull for individual consideration? Okay. I move for approval of the following consent items. A, check disbursements and financial resolutions dated January 23rd, 2020. B, monthly treasurer's report. C, monthly financials. D, transfer of operations and maintenance fund to capital projects. E, PTAB resolution authorizing intervention in proceedings. F, NIIPC rollovers. G, commodity foods RFP fiscal year 2021. H, commercial foods RFP fiscal year 2021. I, contract with Zoom Services, Inc. for transportation services. J, gifts and donations. K, personnel recommendations including new hires, retirements, resignations, and stipends. L, resolution regarding collective liability insurance cooperative. M, policies for second reading and action. Policy 2-100, board member conflict of interest. Policy 2-110, qualifications, terms, and duties of board officers. Policy 220, powers and duties of the Board of Education, indemnification. Policy 2200, school board meeting procedure. Policy 2230, public participation at Board of Education meetings and petitions to the board. Policy 4150, facility management and building programs. Policy 5120, employee ethics, conduct, and conflict of interest. Policy 550, drug and alcohol-free workplace, e-cigarette, tobacco, and cannabis prohibition. Policy 830, visitors to and conduct on school property. N, policies for first reading. 1, Exhibit 27-E, 415, identity protection. 430, revenue and investments. 460, purchases and contracts. 480, accounting and audits. 5120, employee ethics, conduct, and conflict of interest. This is the first and second reading. Sorry, this side. 5230, maintaining student discipline. 5290, employment termination and suspensions. 530, hiring process and criteria. 5310, compensatory time off. 5330, sick days, vacation, holidays, and leaves. 590, abused and neglected child reporting. 6:20, school year calendar and day. 6150, home and hospital instruction. 660, curriculum content. 6300, graduation requirement. 7150, agency and police interviews. 720, harassment of students prohibited. 7270, administering medicines to students. Item O, Memorandum regarding open and closed minutes of revised May 25th, 2017, December 5th and 19th, 2019, and January 14th, 2020, and a declaration that the closed session audio tapes of June 2018 shall be destroyed, and ask for a second.
Second.
And I do want to just clarification, is policy 5120 a first or second read? Because it's listed in both. Okay. So, okay.
Mr. Isley,
Yes.
Mr. Martiri,
Yes.
Ms. Harris, I'm sorry, Mr. Kowski,
Yes.
Ms. Spivey,
Yes.
Mr. Barron,
Yes.
and Dr. Moore.
Yes. And now I will turn it over to Dr.
Okay, well, since the board has approved new personnel, as we all know, with a heavy heart, Dr. Gwendolyn Walker Quarles will be retiring. She told me today in 112 days. At the conclusion of the school year, after a very, very rigorous screening and interview process, we are pleased that tonight the Board of Education has approved Shalima Francois Blue to join our staff as the Executive Director of Special Ed. Would you stand, Superintendent?
I didn't know I was going to be speaking today, but thank you very much for having me today. I want to say that the process was a very long journey, but very, very important. I'm very honored to be here. I'm very honored that you chose me to be the Executive Director of Special Education and walk in the footsteps of Dr. Gwendolyn Walker and make sure that I maintain the path that she set, and also be in partnership with OPR parents and staff. I'm here joined by my wife, Tina Francois Blue, and we actually took a nice drive past the old condo that we used to live in on Taylor. So it's very reminiscent, very reminiscent. And she also made sure that she said, don't forget you owe me dinner at Condo Pass. So thank you again for allowing me to be the Executive Director of Special Education. It's an honor to serve the community and the students of OPR.
You're welcome.
I will add that Ms. Francois Blue comes with an extensive level of certification and experience in special ed, and so welcome to Oak Park and River Forest High School District. So we're going to section 8 now. Discussion. Our first item on the agenda is our youth and action race equity curriculum. It's been a long time coming. In the 2018-2019 school year, a group of OPRF students expressed the need to have a curriculum that would foster discussions around the topic of race. With the assistance of teacher Mr. Lobby Raven and the 2019 alums Naomi Leach and Ryan Miller, they were able to create and develop the Youth and Action Race Equity curriculum that is actually being piloted this semester. Coming forward to make the presentation are Ryan Miller, Naomi Leach, Lobby Raven, and Dr. LaVoy Ammons, the Executive Director of Equity and Student Success. This item is in compliance with Priority 1 of the Strategic Plan, Racial Equity and District Policy 7:10 and 7:12.
All right, good evening. Trying to squeeze in all that money out of real estate. Sorry, I'll scoot back a little bit.
I'm going to ask that you turn your mics on so that when you speak.
So again, good evening. Of course, a long time coming for all right. So we're excited to present tonight the Youth in Action Race Equity course. Again, it's been a long time coming. Tonight specifically, we'll be discussing the curriculum, development of that, and where we're headed with the course. And again, I'm joined by Mr. Lobby Raven, Ms. Naomi Leach, and Ms. Ryan Miller, former students of ours here. So really, we can talk about the why. So of course, we all understand here that we do live in a race-based society that has really yet to authentically engage and reconcile the conversation around race relations. The difficulty in that has historically been these conversations get derailed by these unproductive psychological responses, whether it be one end of the spectrum being disengaged in the conversation, or the other end of the spectrum having some I won't say rage, but just being upset and potentially just bothered and angry about the conversation. And hurt, sure. So ultimately, what we're looking to do is bring awareness, right, to the disenfranchisement of racially diverse groups, so then we can drive that conversation forward.
I guess I'll start. So good evening, everyone. I'm Naomi Leach again, former student. So Ryan and I, and Chloe also, who's in the audience, my sister, we came up with this idea of having a class where we discuss race in modern terms, past slavery and oppression topics, because we felt that even when we did try to tackle race at all in class, it was frustrating because our teachers didn't even know how to hold a conversation with it, and it was very hard for students of color and non-students of color to even have a conversation because they were afraid to be disrespectful or they would be easily offended. And so we came up with this curriculum to find a constructive way to have conversations of race and not move past, but continue to move forward in our society and find a better way to coexist with race.
Yeah, like adding on to that, I think like our class has definitely allowed like a safe space for these topics to happen, and just like allowing it to be student driven in a sense where students can actually talk to other students and create like a safe dialogue between each other instead of having it like controlled or kind of having it like in a way where it's forced upon. Like we can just have these conversations because we're in the same age group or like we're in the same social group. So yeah. So our course goal is to basically like empower students and just creating a safe dialogue about racial equity and opening conversations about identity and gender equity and just kind of different forms of identities that students feel like they're included in.
Although this course is mainly like pushed by the youth, we are working with outside resources. We have the Chicago Freedom School coming in to help us and train the students, and teachers within the building like Mr. Raven here, he's awesome. And Mr. Lesson will also be helping us out and training everyone and helping our student leaders go on and pass the torch. So.
Hello. Hi, I'm Lobby Raven. I do need to make a minor digression because oftentimes in these discussions we begin with positionality and who we are. But one of the things I appreciate is my department chair in English, Helen Gallagher, always emphasizes situatedness. How are you doing? Where are you coming from? And at this moment, I'm coming from an interesting space. My youngest daughter is facing a deep and grave challenge. And what's interesting is I was asked to deliver OPRF works and other student artworks, solidarity works, to an event that's happening at Chicago Teachers Union Hall right now, the National Day of Racial Healing, and the Solidarity Heals event. So I went there and then had to spend some important treasured time with my daughter. And all of these things coalesced in one day on one night. right? And this board meeting. And my mom was like, don't worry about it, you can do it. You know, and I'm talking to my daughter, I'm like, man, my phone's on 1%. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to call you immediately when I get out. You know what I'm doing? And she said, it's okay, I'm proud of you. And so I left with that light. And I brought this with from the event because I was like, you know, I think I need a spiritual torch perhaps coming into this meeting to maintain through the meeting, right, and to share with you all. And so I'm just putting this here, and right now at this moment, there are 300 people gathered working on this, and they're actually surrounded by our students' artworks, which is amazing. And they honored and mentioned where those artworks came from. So that's why I just wanted to let you know where I'm coming from. And I'm proud to be here and share with you because it's not the responsibility, it is the call. And even though we may face certain things in life, the call pushes us forward to do the work, and it's a work of love. So the curriculum. Part of the process, was doing quite a bit of investigation and background research into organizations and resources that have expertise in this field. Attending the Social Justice Conference in Houston, what was very interesting was the longest line at that conference was dealing with white supremacy in K-12 schools. You could not get into those rooms. There were about 300 people in those lines. I mean, people signed up, about 20 people could get in every time. It's like, wow, across the nation, we're all working on this, we're struggling with it. Reached out to the Chicago Freedom School because they're experts in training youth as youth leaders in equity and youth empowerment, consciousness about race, gender, and other identities. And then the in-school resources. She's just mentioning why we use the matrix, use the care team, our young people in training. And that led to the curriculum. So as we call these resources, the process that we're using, essentially what I'm presenting here is what happens about every 2 weeks in the class. So we introduce a main topic or a series of topics, concepts, and the relevant vocabulary through intertextual resources, which means that there are books, there are articles, there is artwork, there are films, there's music that are tied to those concepts, right? And the students braid those together over those 2 weeks, and then understanding and learning those concepts, conducting their academic research, and doing critical inquiry together as a group. Then they will practice teaching each other, which is what we're beginning next week, using our text. How would you educate others within the class? Practice that, and get their skills on that way. And then conceptualizing how to transmit the information they are learning to other students, and using the Chicago Freedom School as a model. So we have those 4 Freedom School trainings, and if you're official, like you go to those trainings in the summer, you become a Chicago Freedom School fellow, right? So, and inviting students that aren't part of the class so that we can widen the locus of consciousness and desire about this, even to young people that may not have even had an interest or may not have even known. And bringing in especially young people who may not think they have the power to do anything. And then developing, at the end of all of this, the students in the class in collaboration with the progenitors and an adult ally and guide a 1 to 2 week workshop to introduce other students to what they have learned and to push out into those classes, which was the framework that was created by the SAFE crew and our leaders here so that students will educate other students, which also is very powerful because it takes away some of the adultism, some of the power dynamics that can be quite intimidating when addressing some of these issues, but also it's challenging for students because this may be one of the first times I took a student, a Latina, to the Art Institute for a community development project collaboration. The students were leading, they had already learned the process. And at the end of that session, she said, we were like talking about what you feel and about what you experience. She said, this was the first time I felt like my voice mattered. It's the first time like I felt like listened to, and actually I was guiding the discussion. It was just powerful. So that's the curricular framework. The content you can see on the curriculum map at any time if you'd like to reach out to me. These are the texts that we're using, and there are other texts as well. There's an incredible new text that's just come out that is not on this list, which I'm waiting, going to arrive at my house tomorrow. But primary text right now are Teaching for Black Lives, which I think that Teaching for Black, these come from, I believe they all come from the publishing, Rethinking Schools, okay? The Teaching for Black Lives, and then Becoming an Ally, if you're familiar with Ann Bishop at the University of Illinois Chicago. 20 years ago, she developed a framework for allies, workshops, and working together as across boundaries and bridging with each other to break the cycle of oppression. So we're going to be using her text to get exemplars and processes that we can use. Project-based resources, Rhythm and Resistance, which is a Rethinking Schools book about music, poetry, and how you can incorporate creativity into our curriculum. Reading, Writing, and Rising Up, how we can use academic research, creativity, prose writing, academic writing for community engagement and change. And then historical background, our central text is just understanding people who've done this work before. So looking at the Freedom Schools movement, and particularly the Highlander Freedom Schools, where Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, many activists as youth were trained, 15 to 18 years old, and then went out and became the people that they become. The student trainings, the Chicago Freedom School, they have 4 trainings. And the first training which we just engaged in was the anti-oppression training. And the anti-oppression training, basically the first half of that training was identity, who you are, how society defines you, how do you define yourself? What are the categorical elements in society, the societal labels, frameworks that we are locked into, and how we define ourselves, which more personal, close, spiritual realizations within. That was the first half. So students and teachers creating identity maps, sharing those out with each other, defining terms related to identity. The second half was addressing oppression and privilege, and basically defining what oppression is, what privilege is, and then all of us doing different activities, physical activities, moving activities, to recognize the privilege within oneself and the oppression that one may have experienced historically in their lives. And then of course you end up on different sides of that line depending on who you are. The next training is understanding adultism, which is really interesting. One of our most prolific teachers, I said, we got the adultism training. It was interesting. They were like, adultism? I was like, they're like, what's adultism? I was like, wow, man, that's kind of like, it's kind of deep. The silence on a particular topic shows the dominance of it in a society, right? And adults, we do maintain dominance and power over society. So how do we understand what adultism is, how it affects young people, and that young people do have a voice, and what do they want to do? What are their issues, and how can they be transformative beings? Absolutely, they are transformative. How can they have a vehicle to be more transformative in the world? The third training is creating positive partnerships, building bridges with each other, solidarity, relationships, appreciation and understanding. And then generating solutions and solidarity. What do you want to do with this? Where do you want to take this now? What are your ideas? What are your projections? And then we're all familiar with the CARE training. I've asked Devon if he can transmute that for young people. He's going to come in, and then I've asked Avi, which does really very heartful relationship, understanding each other as human beings training. So we've asked them to come in so that we can use the resources that already exist in the building. So then the potential workshops. The last 6 to 8 weeks of the school year, the students in the class will be asked to lead workshops, and they'll push out. I know we didn't get everything you wanted done, okay, but we got the push out part. The recruitment part was the challenge, right? The push out, where right now we have 10 incredible young women registered in the class. They'll be going to 3 potential classes, and the classes are on different levels, kind of different levels, because we want to assess also how will we communicate with an honors class, a CP class, you know, an inclusion, what do you call it, man, they changed it, man. Well, no, like WSI. I don't like to use the derogatory terms, immersion. Yeah, immersion, immersion classes, right? So the classes that we've identified thus far, Mr. Pena is teaching a youth and social justice class the same period. There's a CP US history class with Mr. Dan Martin, and the AP psychology class with Ms. Yurka, which is really probably one of the greatest spaces we can go into, because she has noted that she has all levels, lexicals, diversity, genders, and she was like, come on in, this is probably the best, come in right after AP testing, let's do it, okay? So those are the classes that we would like to visit. So as we've been developing and doing the course, we've been thinking about questioning, noticing certain things, considerations, future foci, right? There's all women in the class. We have one white male, a beast, man, who's really, I specifically asked him to come, it's like 6 of them to come. And he was represented. And you know, about a week and a half, and he's like, I got to do this, this, and this. And I was like, oh man, he needs you, man. You know, cause you know, he was just, he's an ally. But all women in the class, we need to have many genders in that class. We need our young men in the class of all backgrounds. And that was basically why I pushed hard in the recruitment for the Freedom School. It's like, let me get some of these guys in here. And then cultural representation, we always want to have as many, we're fortunate right now to have a Latina, as she identifies herself, in the class, but we don't actually have, you know, we do have a diverse school. We want Asian descendant representation. We need a Middle Eastern descendant representation. They are here because those voices, their stories are part of this. It is a national, international, global, interconstellative, you know, relationship that we're trying to build. We've been wondering if the push out, like, should it be, we're going with sophomore level, but we've been thinking, like, should we go into the freshman? Maybe we should be starting earlier. It's just a question. And the reason why is because need for earlier experiences and conversations about the topic. The World Studies curriculum aligns with it in terms of identity, consciousness, and it will stimulate interest for future recruitment. We don't know, but it's a question we're asking ourselves. And then involvement of allied teachers and administrators and community members in this. We're all in this. What has been so beautiful, 2 parents came on Parent Day and hung out with us, you know, and we were like, man, we should all of us, just all the parents and so meet up and just have a meal here at school and talk and blah, 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 and this and that. Allied teachers, we have so many, there's so much intellect in this building. Even if some people might not be able to see, you know, sometimes we all have myopia, right? But we have some excellent teachers in this building that have asked to become part of this, that have suggested mini units, right? And so we want to work with those that are willing and desire to participate in this process, and we're going to be asking some of them to help us this summer writing curriculum.
Right, are there any questions?
Questions? Comments?
So when do I get to come to the class?
Right, any day. Come on in. You are welcome.
Okay.
I stole my question.
And actually, I just want to say the magic of that. When we were at the Freedom School training for students to see the adult teachers, everyone's on the same level. It was like so different. We got a new environment. So the teachers were the teacher was being so respectful of the youth. Like, we don't want to invade their space, but please, I mean, we need multi-babies.
I think this is awesome, and thank you, ladies, for all the work that you did to even get us to the point of having these conversations, let alone having a whole course. But as you talk about, maybe going with freshmen, I also think it would be really interesting once we are a little bit further down this road to talk to 97. And try to the elementary districts to because obviously the earlier you can intervene and have these conversations, the better. So that might be something really cool down the road.
And actually, I've begun a conversation with an English teacher that I taught with at North London College Prep, who's now at one of the middle schools here. And we've talked about basically sharing what we're doing on the freshman level with the race equity class, understanding what they're doing, and if there's some way over the next 2 or 3 years to just have some alignment. It's just one person, but that's how it all begins, right? And that would be amazing to have something that goes, across the board. So that'd be nice.
Thank you.
I just have to say, I'll try not to cry. These two young ladies here are amazing and have tenacity and drive like you can't even believe. There were moments when literally their plan was in the trash can, not by them, but by us. And they pulled it out, and I promised them that they would have the support that they needed. This has been a vision since I got on the board that we had student-led work. Yeah. My daughter's freshman year, so you all were. And watching you all from freshman year when you were the babies to now coming back to lend your expertise and just leadership to this is just so awe-inspiring. I am so proud of you all, and thank all of our adults for just helping them realize this vision.
Thank you.
And we'll go to lunch. No.
In reflection on that, I do want to express gratitude to everyone here. Brother Ammons being a central spoke and helping us to pull together, all the things that we're doing. Our youth progenitors and those that we can't see right now. Your whole cipher, and the ones that came before, you all here, our parents and community members that we will, bring into the fold. But a deep gratitude for taking this journey. It is a courageous journey, and it's not happening. All the stuff that happened last year, that's happened in a lot of places, man. We just do a spotlight, okay? That happened everywhere. But what we're doing, the transformative work, this is extra special. Touching base with people, man. It's not happening everywhere. Okay, so we're taking the lead. And people are asking, they're like, hey, can you share what you guys are doing? Oh, watch 2-3 years, okay? Because our young people, they're going to be like, they're going to be like, oh yeah, we'll be happy to share. Okay?
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.